I was just trying to pay for my damn welding gear, ready to get out of there, when a hand clamped onto my arm. Not a gentle tap, more like a claw, tight enough I swear it left a momentary bruise. My eyes snapped from the cash register screen to the woman standing beside me, her face a mask of impatient fury. "You!" she barked, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. "Where are the trailer hitches? And don't you dare tell me you don't know." My brain just stalled. Trailer hitches? I was holding a receipt for a new auto-darkening hood and some fresh electrodes. This wasn't even the same department. I blinked, trying to process the sudden, aggressive demand. It wasn't the first time I'd been mistaken for an employee in a hardware store. Flannel shirt, a certain can-do look, I guess, but this was a whole new level of entitlement. Let's rewind a few minutes. I'd been browsing for some specific welding consumables, just minding my own business when she first appeared. "Excuse me, sir," she'd said, actually sounding somewhat polite at first. "Could you help me find a hood and some electrodes?" Now, I'm no welding expert, but I know enough to get by, and I definitely knew where those were. So, being the helpful idiot I sometimes am, I figured, sure, why not? Just point her in the right direction. I walked her over, showed her the various welding hoods, explained the difference between 6010 and 70 or 18 electrodes. She seemed satisfied. That's where I made my mistake. Instead of thanking me and moving on, she just lingered. "Oh, I also need 5 pounds of electrodes," she added, handing me a small scrap of paper. "Could you grab those for me? And make sure they're the right ones." Okay, a bit much, but I was already there. I grabbed the requested electrodes, a slight knot forming in my stomach. This felt less like a request and more like an expectation. I started heading towards the main registers, my own basket clutched in my other hand, thinking she'd finally get the hint. Nope. That's when she grabbed my arm, her eyes wide and staring like I'd just personally offended her by attempting to pay for my purchases. "Wait, you can't just leave. What about the trailer hitches and the brake fluid I need? Aren't you going to help me?" My patience already thin snapped. "Ma'am," I said, pulling my arm free, my voice a little louder than I intended. "I don't actually work here. I'm just a customer, same as you. I was trying to be helpful, but I really need to go." Her face went from impatient to incandescent. Her eyes narrowed, then glazed over with pure, unadulterated fury. "Don't you lie to me," she shrieked, her voice suddenly much higher. "I saw you helping people. You were in the welding section, helping me. You should be fired for this. How dare you refuse to help a customer?" She lunged again, grabbing my arm even harder this time. I physically recoiled, trying to twist away from her surprisingly strong grip. "Lady, seriously, I do not work here," I insisted, stepping back. "I'm just buying my own stuff." But she wasn't listening. She was full-on screaming now, right there in the middle of the checkout aisle, demanding I find her an entire shopping list of unrelated items. "You're a disgrace. I'm going to report you. Get me a manager. You should be fired." Her face was bright red, spittle flying as she yelled. She followed me step for step, still grasping at my clothes as I tried to put some distance between us. People were staring now. A few cashiers had paused, watching the spectacle. I knew I couldn't just ignore her anymore. My temper was boiling. I looked over at the nearest register, where a younger guy with a name tag that read Mike was gawking. "Hey, Mike," I yelled, trying to keep my voice even despite the adrenaline coursing through me. "This woman is refusing to believe I don't work here, and she's assaulting me." Mike, bless his startled heart, sprang into action. He'd clearly heard at least some of the shouting. "Ma'am," he interjected, stepping out from behind his register, a look of shocked concern on his face. "Is everything all right? He doesn't work here." "He's lying," she wailed, pointing a trembling finger at me. "He was helping me. He's refusing to do his job. He should be fired." Mike, now much closer, saw the way she was still trying to grab me. His expression hardened. "Ma'am, I can assure you this gentleman is a customer. You need to stop harassing him. If you don't, I'm going to have to ask you to leave the store." That only fueled her fire. She let out a guttural scream, a sound that made half the store jump. "I'm not leaving. I need help. This is unacceptable customer service." "You need to leave the store now, ma'am," Mike repeated, his voice firm, pointing towards the exit. "Right now, or I'll call security." The threat of security seemed to finally penetrate her rage-fogged brain. Her mouth snapped shut, though her eyes were still blazing. She gave me one last, utterly venomous glare, like I'd personally ruined her entire life, then spun on her heel and stomped out of the store, muttering incoherently. I let out a long, shaky breath, feeling a mix of relief and lingering adrenaline. Mike looked at me, his eyes wide. "Dude, I am so sorry about that. Are you okay?" I just nodded, running a hand through my hair. "Yeah, I'm fine. Just wow." I paid for my welding gear, the hum of the register suddenly sounding incredibly peaceful. As I was walking out, Mike actually followed me to the door. "Seriously, man, I'm really sorry you had to deal with that," he said, shaking his head. "Some people, I swear. Look, the electrodes you bought, let me just comp those for you. It's the least I can do after that craziness." I appreciated the gesture, I really did, but I shook my head. "Nah, it's all right, Mike. I already paid. Don't worry about it. Just glad she's gone." I gave him a small, tired smile. "Thanks for stepping in, though. You handled that well." He nodded. "Anytime. Don't let it ruin your day." I walked out into the crisp afternoon air, the fresh breeze a welcome contrast to the stifling tension inside. What a ride. One minute you're just trying to pick up some metalworking supplies, the next you're fending off an unhinged woman convinced you're a rogue employee deserving of termination. It's a reminder that sometimes even the most mundane errands can turn into a bizarre, frustrating ordeal. But hey, it makes for a hell of a story, right?
This next one had Reddit losing its mind. Quick pause, subscribe now, because the chaos doesn't stop here.
My hand was actually shaking when I finally slammed the phone down. Hard. "Sarah, that's me. My name's Sarah and I work in alarm monitoring. Usually it's pretty chill. Beep, beep, beep. I say, sounds like your battery's low, sir. Let's walk through replacing it. Easy. But not this call. Oh no, this was King D-Bag territory and I hadn't even named him that yet. It started like any other Tuesday. The phone rang, I answered with my usual, "Thanks for calling company name, Sarah speaking. How can I help you?" On the other end, a guy. Let's call him Stan, because King D-Bag is a bit much to open with, but trust me, he earns it. Stan's voice was already edged with irritation, like he was doing me a favor by even breathing near a phone. "My alarm's beeping," he barked, no pleasantries whatsoever, "and it's because of a goddamn water leak. What are you people playing at?" I paused, processed. An alarm beeping due to a water leak isn't exactly a conspiracy, it's a feature, a safety measure. My standard patient voice kicked in. "Okay, Mr. Stan, I understand that can be frustrating. The alarm system is designed to alert you to potential issues like water intrusion to prevent further damage. It sounds like the sensor is working as intended." I was already bracing myself, though. That tone, it just screams entitlement. He wasn't having it, not even a little bit. "Working as intended? It's driving me insane. You people clearly don't know what you're doing. Fix it." Now, his voice was already climbing, that telltale sign of a man whose patience expired before the call even connected. I took a deep breath. "Sir, the alarm itself isn't broken. It's doing its job to tell you there's a water leak. You'll need to address the leak first, and then we can help you reset the sensor. Would you like me to try and troubleshoot the sensor with you after you've handled the leak?" I tried to keep my voice even calm, a soothing balm to his rage, which was clearly not working. "Are you even listening to me?" he roared, and now the background noise was just silence. He probably went into a closet or something just to scream. "I don't care about the leak, that's not your problem. Your problem is this goddamn beeping. It's an act of war, I tell you. You're trying to ruin my life. I'm going to sue you. I'm going to sue your company. I'm going to sue your CEO. I'm going to sue you personally." My professionalism, usually a concrete shield, was starting to crack. My jaw clenched. "Sir, I'm trying to help you. Threats are not going to resolve this issue." "Oh, so now you're going to lecture me," he shrieked, totally ignoring my point. "You're just some pathetic call center drone. You don't know who I am. I pay your salary. You work for me. You probably caused the leak yourself, you incompetent little witch." That was it. Witch. That hit a nerve. I'm usually unflappable, but there's a limit. My eyes darted to the mute button, but my fingers froze. My training dictates maintaining composure, de-escalation, but this guy wasn't listening to logic, reason, or even basic human decency. He was just a raw nerve of pure, unadulterated rage, and it was all aimed at me. My heart was pounding. My blood felt like ice. I need this fixed immediately, or else, you hear me, or else. I felt a switch flip. It wasn't anger, not exactly. It was a cold, quiet fury. This wasn't about an alarm or a leak anymore. This was about a grown man verbally abusing a stranger over the phone because he couldn't grasp a simple concept or control his own temper. And I was done. My supervisor's voice echoed in my head. You don't have to tolerate abuse. Without another word, without a warning click or a polite goodbye, I just pressed the disconnect button. The silence that followed was deafening, then utterly glorious. I stared at the blinking light on my phone, my hand still hovering over it, shaking like a leaf. I took a few deep breaths, my chest tight, and immediately called my team lead. Mark. Mark, I said, my voice tight. I just had a call with a man. He was threatening, abusive, and called me some pretty disgusting names. I had to disconnect. Mark, bless his soul, was already listening. He could tell by my voice it wasn't a run-of-the-mill complaint. He had me send the call recording to him and our manager, Karen. Within minutes, Karen was in my cubicle, headset on, listening to the playback. Her face, usually so calm, hardened with every insult, every shriek from Stan. When he got to incompetent little witch, she actually flinched. Sarah, she said, pulling off the headset, her voice low and furious. You did absolutely the right thing. No one deserves that kind of abuse. She didn't waste a second. She called the owner of the alarm company, our bosses, everyone up the chain. They all listened to the recording. Their reaction was unanimous. Stan, our newly christened King D-Bag, was a problem. A big one. Not just for me, but for anyone who had to deal with him. The decision came swiftly. The alarm installer, a guy named Mike, who was usually unflappable, listened to the recording and just shook his head. Yeah, no, he said flatly. I'm not going out there. Not for that guy. They didn't just cancel King D-Bag's account, they blacklisted him. Permanently, no service, no repairs, no contact, and just to be on the safe side because his threats were specific enough, Karen had us file a police report. The cops listened to the recording, and while they couldn't press charges for a verbal outburst over the phone without a clear, immediate threat of physical harm, they logged it. It was a paper trail, just in case King D-Bag decided to escalate further. The relief that washed over me when all this was done was immense. It felt like shedding a heavy, slimy coat. As for King D-Bag, well, he was left with a beeping alarm, a water leak, and no one willing to touch his system with a 10-foot pole. He probably had to scramble to find some other poor company to put up with his antics. But that wasn't our problem anymore. He learned, or at least he experienced, the consequences of treating people like garbage. It's a stark reminder, working in customer service. You meet some truly incredible people, and then you meet the King D-Bags. Sometimes you just gotta know when to hang up, when to protect yourself, and when to let them deal with the mess they've made. It wasn't a pleasant call, but man, the satisfaction of that click was priceless.
The hand clamped onto my wrist with surprising force, yanking me forward. You gonna serve us or what, pal? A beefy, red-faced man roared, spittle flying. I stared at him, then at my own arm, then back at his furious face. Pal? Serve? We were at an airport bar. I'm Cedric, and 10 minutes ago, all I wanted was to catch my flight to the US and maybe not spill my entire beer. It was one of those crazy busy nights at the airport, you know? Flights delayed left and right, so the bar was absolutely crammed. My girlfriend Sarah and I were just trying to enjoy a quiet drink before our flight, but my clumsy elbow had other plans. 1 minute, I'm taking a sip. The next, my pint's doing an impressive swan dive all over our table. Ugh, really, Cedric? Sarah sighed, but her tone was more amused than annoyed. Don't even think about running away. Let's just grab a cloth. So, I headed to the bar, feeling a bit sheepish, to ask for something to clean up my mess. The bartender was swamped. Naturally, while I waited, I couldn't help but notice this couple a few spots behind me in the queue. The guy, a walking beer gut with a perpetually annoyed expression, and his wife, whose face seemed permanently set to furious. They'd been grumbling loud enough for half the terminal to hear, muttering about incompetent staff and wasted tax dollars. I actually felt a tiny bit of sympathy. Because who doesn't hate flight delays, right? That sympathy evaporated the second he stomped over to me. "What's the holdup here?" he demanded, his voice thick with impatience. "Why is it taking so long to get a damn drink?" I blinked. It's just really busy tonight, man. Lot of delayed flights, I guess. I tried to sound reasonable, helpful even. Big mistake." His face just got redder. "Busy? Bullshit. You just standing around looking pretty? Get behind the bar and pour us a couple of lagers then." I actually let out a short, incredulous laugh. "Dude, I don't work here. I just spilled my drink. I'm waiting for a cloth." That's when he grabbed my wrist. My laugh died in my throat. He was surprisingly strong, and his grip was like a vice. "Don't you lie to me. I saw you near the bar. Now move it, or I'll make you move it." I was genuinely stunned. This was escalating way faster than spilled beer. Sarah, bless her, saw what was happening and was by my side in a flash. She's always been the voice of reason, but when it comes to defending me, she turns into a tiny, fierce dragon. "Hey," she snapped, yanking my arm free from his grip. "He doesn't work here. Leave him alone, you absolute goon." Oh man, that set him off even more. He started sputtering, but then his wife, who I later learned was Betty, decided this was her cue to join the chaos. She charged in, a whirlwind of bad hair and righteous fury, yelling something incoherent about disrespect and unprofessionalism. I'm not entirely sure what her plan was, but the end result was her colliding with her husband, Rudolph. They went down in a tangled heap, like two angry drunk walruses trying to win a wrestling match with gravity. "You know what?" I said to Sarah, pulling her close. "My flight's in an hour. I don't need this." We started to walk away, but Rudolph, now scrambling to his feet, wasn't done. "Hey, where do you think you're going?" he bellowed, charging after us. He took a wild swing at my head, but missed by a mile, stumbled over his own feet, and went down again with a heavy thud. I just shook my head, feeling a weird mix of disbelief and morbid amusement. This guy was having a truly terrible day. We kept walking, thinking he'd give up, but nope! He was back up, huffing and puffing, and charged again. Another swing, another miss, another spectacular faceplant. This time, a few people around us actually started chuckling. Suddenly, 2 police officers were there, seemingly out of nowhere, separating us. Thank God. They'd been alerted by someone, probably the bartender or one of the chuckling bystanders. They quickly took statements from me and Rudolph. The officer looked between us, then got on his radio. A few minutes later, he came back, looking squarely at Rudolph. "Sir, we've reviewed the CCTV footage," he stated, his voice calm but firm. "It's clear Mr. Cedric here is not an employee of this establishment, and he was simply trying to leave after you initiated physical contact and then attempted to assault him." Rudolph's face went from red to purple. He was arrested right there and then, whisked away to the police station. Sarah and I, after giving our official statements, were free to go. Later, from the comfort of our airplane seats, still buzzing from the absurdity of it all, I got a call from the officer. Rudolph had been given a formal caution for assault. Honestly, hearing that, I felt a wave of satisfaction. Some people just need to learn that not everyone is there to serve them. "Can you believe that just happened?" Sarah whispered, leaning against me as we started our ascent. Definitely not how I expected to start our vacation. I just shook my head, a grin spreading across my face. "Nope, but hey, at least we've got a hell of a story now." She laughed, and I knew that this trip, chaotic start and all, was going to be an unforgettable adventure.
This next one, yeah, it's a good one too.